January 21st, which apparently is a government holiday. I forgot about that when I went to the bank today, but oh well. This video was actually supposed to go up this past Saturday, but it didn't for reasons, but I'm here today and we are going to be working through, I can grab it here, the series, there you go, the series workbook that I put out, the PDF. I'm going to link it again in the description box of this video, so you can go grab your copy because it is free. I originally made this workbook to go with the video that I did on how to plan a series, and then as I was going over the information in it, I was like, man, honestly, like, this is all stuff that I've kind of in theory done for my series, but I've never, like, had an actual workbook where I sat down and I had it all succinctly put in one place, you know, like an at-a-glance kind of a thing, which I think is really essential for a series, which is why I made it to begin with. And as I was making it, I was like, man, I am so excited to get to work on this. So I'm actually going to be doing, going through this workbook with you. So you can grab your copy and print it out for yourself. You can just watch this video to watch this video, whatever you want to do. But I'm going to be going through it, and you can go through it with me or just watch and enjoy. I actually decided to do 2 series though, and don't worry, don't freak, this is not going to be a long video, but I suddenly realized that just doing a standalone, my first thought was to do a standalone series, and then I was like, well, but there's so much of the material that goes with the saga series too, and I was like, well, what if I just do both? What if I just do, you know, one for a saga and one for a standalone, and then you can see the differences side by side and how they're planned. But I decided that I was going to use 2 series that everybody knows about and that I'm already working on. So I'm going to be doing the standalone will be my fairy tale series, and then the saga is going to be my Coastlander series. I'm going to do one page at a time and then show you them side by side. So I'll do page 1 of the standalone and then page 1 of the saga, so you can see them side by side. So let's try it and see what happens. The first one we're going to work on is the fairy tales one. Okay, so there we have it. You can see. Put that there. Okay, so page 1. About page 1. They're not numbered, but this is the first page. And you start off with potential titles for the series. Now, normally when I sit down to do this, it's after I've already worked on other elements of the series for a while, so this does not have to be the first step that you come up with, but it's just the first step on here. And since I already know what the series title is going to be, I'm going to go ahead and write it down. Okay, then the next thing is pretty easy. It's what kind of series is this? And you can see there's like descriptions, and this is going to be a standalone, meaning that you don't necessarily have to read them in any order because there's no direct tie-ins. You can see my lovely little nail polish there. There we go. Okay, the next thing is how many books will there be approximately? I believe that there are going to be 8 books total. And then subcategories, this does not always apply, but in my case it does. I'm actually going to have 3 subcategories. I'm going to have a middle grade subcategory, which will be 2 books. And then I'm going to have a YA subcategory, which is going to be approximately 4 books. I may take the 4th one out. We'll decide later. And then I'm going to have new adult, which is going to have 2 books as well. And yes, I am very aware that I grip my pen way too tightly. Okay, so the second workbook is going to be for the Coastlander series, so I'm just going to write that down real quickly. I love red pens. I know that, like, most people are afraid of them because, like, red pens were terrible when we were growing up because they meant that you did something wrong on your paper, but I love red pens, so. And you can see, again, just up in the corner. Okay, and again, this series actually went through a number of potential titles. There was at one point it was called The Secret in the Stone series. There was a time when it was called the Alagra series. But since neither of those apply anymore because that plot element was completely taken out, I've just settled on the Coastlander series because it is about Mark and he identifies strongly as a Coastlander, which you'll understand when you read the book. And then it does circle back around to that at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down here. I suddenly realized as I was doing this, I'm a lefty, so I'm doing it like this. I'm hoping that you can read it when I do that. Okay, so you can see I have the potential title series, and I could put down, like, I'll actually turn it sideways so you can see better. But I could put down, if I can find it here, I could put down the other title series, or yeah, that I had. So the Secret in the Stone series and the Alagra series. So there you see I have a list of potential titles. So now we're moving down into what kind of series is this, and this is definitely a saga series. You cannot read these out of order without huge spoilers or, being completely confused because of the subplots largely, and because the story builds. So you have those two elements that make it almost unreadable otherwise. It is a projected book, or a projected series of 5 books, and this is not... Okay, I'm not sure exactly what this means. I always thought it meant not applicable. My husband thinks it means not available. Then somebody told us what it actually meant, and it wasn't either of those. But anyway, so there you see the next page is done. Now, the second page for my fairy tale series, the first question is not going to be applicable. How many years did the book span? Each book covers its own time frame, separate from the others, so I can't really answer that question. So I'm going to put down that NA again. So then it says potential book titles and taglines, or a 1 to 2 sentence synopsis. I'm going to go do that off camera, and I cannot show you but 2 of them. So I'm going to write down 2 of them to show you what I mean, and then I'll fill out the rest of it off camera. You can't see those. Sorry, I can't tell you because they're secret. So I'll be right back. Oh my gosh, I'm so terrible. I'm so terrible at taglines. Just read the title and don't read the tagline, okay? Okay? Okay, so you can see here that part's not applicable, and then potential titles, and then there's going to be a couple more. So, yeah. Okay, for the co-sender workbook, we are actually going to have a year timeline, a number of years, there we go, a number of years in the timeline that the story follows pretty chronologically. So I'm trying to remember how many it is, though. Let's just give it 10 years, because I'm pretty sure it's about a 10-year span. So, dude, Mark is going to be so old at the end of this. So we got about a 10-year span. And then the potential book titles I actually already have. Again, I can't show you more than the first one, but I don't really think that matters at this point. We'll just skip that part. So you can see how many years is the span. I got 10 years on there. And then I'm going to go ahead and write down the book titles, and I'll get right back with you. Okay. Alright, I'm going to blip it by really fast so you can see that I did it. But you can't see the titles because they're super secret! Okay, now we're moving on to the next page. Actually has like up to 18 novels. So we're going to skip past that part. The next page, which would be page, 3 I think, is the series notebook page. Which, I have both of my notebooks here. And this one is just as full because there's so many books. But the material is so different. I have different material. It's much shorter, it's much simpler, and basically I have to go through everything for each individual book, so it is different. So for my fairy tale series, since it's a standalone, I thought I would show you what I have for that. Because it is standalone and there is nothing that ties it together, no world building or, tying over characters or tying over plot points, they're all fairy tales. That's the only thing that ties them together. So rather than having categories, I need to have just each book be its own section. So it's going to be a total of about 8 sections. And then within that section, I'll have all the information repeated for each individual book. So you see here, this is the information that I'll need for each book. Instead of in each category, it's going to be for each book. I'm going to have the book information, so the word count goal, the estimated number of chapters, and then the book blurb, or what I envision being on the back of the book, so I kind of guess, I get on paper what the heart of the book is. A character roster, so the list of names of all the characters, and then who they all are, what part they play in the story, because in fairy tales, they're almost never named, so that's important. Then the character journey charts and aesthetics, these are only for my main characters. So for Snowdust, that's only going to be for Gerda and Kay. It's not going to be for anybody else. Although I may do some aesthetics for some other characters depending on how much information I feel like giving. Then I have a bare minimum outline, which is the plotting structure or system. So I basically plug in all of my major plot points into a plotting structure so that I can kind of see how my story flows and how it builds up toward that climax. Then I have a detailed chapter outline. I usually do a scene by scene instead of a chapter by chapter because usually it takes me longer to write. Like, I end up with more material per chapter than I thought I would. But I'm going to try with the chapter this time and see if I can keep it in the outline. Then any rough draft material. So like for Snow Dust, I wrote the first 2 chapters already, so I'm going to scrap them technically, but I can use the information still. And then a printed copy of the original fairy tale. This is for my research purposes and for just making sure that I stay true to the story. So since fairy tales are all free domain, I just print off the most detailed version of the fairy tale that I can find, and the oldest one that I can find, and I base my story off of that. But there's little tidbits of information in each fairy tale that need to be incorporated into the story, and having a printed off copy helps to make sure that I do not miss any of those important key elements. And then the next 2 pages are not applicable to my fairy tale series at all, because it's what is the series plot structure based on character arc and plot arc. So since none of the main characters go into each other's books, then this does not apply to me. So I am done for my fairy tale series. And I'm just going to show you that I have and this is the notes that I have for my series notebook video, which I'll link that video in the description box below. But basically it has the 4 basic categories that I do, and then it has individual lists of things. So I already have this written up, so I don't really need to do this for this. But I will probably still go back through, and actually I may do this on the Coast Thunder one anyway, but I'll go back through and I'll write down the specifics of, okay, this character still needs a profile, this world building section needs to be beefed up, this needs this, that needs that, all that. I'm going to probably still go through that with the Coast Thunder one. And I'll show you kind of what that looks like a little bit later. Actually, I will show you, I already do have, again, a list. So you can see here, I'll just go ahead and show you. Like this, I will eventually fill out again, but I already do have, I don't know if you can see it, but notebook update. I do have a whole sheet. Look at all that crap I have to do. I have to redo my notebook. So I do have a list. So you can see I have my notebook update. I need to complete the character profiles. I have to go through exercises. I have to review detailed maps and do a complete read through. And at this point in the process of series planning, this is when I would go through and make my series notebook. So I've already filled out what I need in it, and I already know the information. So before I go on to this part, I would go ahead and at least set up my series notebook, especially if I'm working with my saga series, so I know going in what information I need, and then I can just go through this after. So let's do this one for Coast Thunder real quickly, because I am actually really excited to do this part for the Coast Thunder series, because I have it in my head, but again, I haven't actually sat down and written it out. So what is the series plot structure? So for A, you want to draw the character arc. So for this, you want to, and you can see here the graph, okay? So you want to draw that arc and then put a beginning point and an end point. So where your character starts off mentally, emotionally, spiritually at the beginning of the series, and then where you want them to end up mentally, emotionally, and spiritually at the end of the series. And then there should be a midpoint. Now, if you have 2 books, the beginning and the end, the midpoint basically will be the end of book 1, the beginning of book 2. So you still have to have a midpoint. If you have a trilogy, it's easy. You have book 1 is beginning, book 2 is the middle, book 3 is the end. If you have 4, then the midpoint in the series would be, again, at the end of book 2, the beginning of book 3. So it really, it doesn't matter how many books you have. You could have 30 books in the saga series. So I'm going to draw an arc. And since Mark is my main character, an arc for Mark. Have fun. Sorry Forget that. So then I draw my midpoint. And I'm going to turn around so that you can see real quickly. There we go. Okay, as you can see, my little hand-drawn one is not nearly as nice as that one. But it doesn't have to be. Okay, it doesn't have to be. Okay, for this one, I'm actually going to have to, like, turn it sideways. So my apologies, because I am a lefty. So you have, let me see here. Let's do this. Here we go. So I'm going to have book 1. And the middle one is, of course, book 3. And then the end is going to be book 5. So we're going to put the other 2 books here. But let's go ahead and just fill out this part. So at the beginning of the book, Mark wants to be a hero. Let's see if I can change it around. Here we go. Mark wants to be a hero. Mark wants to be a hero. Realizes that he doesn't qualify yet. Okay. Book 2 is a progression of that, but we're going to skip all the way to book 5, where Mark becomes, oops, and again, sorry, I'm trying to figure out my camera angle here. Mark becomes the hero he's always dreamed of being. Sorry, there you go. Okay, so book 1, Mark wants to be this hero. Book 5, he actually becomes that hero. So now you have all the books in the middle are going to show you like what that looks like. And I'm not going to show you his individual character arc right now because, again, like spoilers of exactly which books he does what. But again, this is also the bare minimum. And so I'm going to go through, and you'll want to go through as well and like mark, you know, your different books. And I'm actually going to just throw this point in there. My friend and I were actually talking today about a saga series versus an episodic series, and we realized that an episodic series actually covers like all of the ground between a strict standalone and a strict saga. So there is so much room for interpretation there of different kinds of series. Don't be discouraged if you don't feel like your book is, you know, a saga, because it says saga only. Well, that just means that, you know, you have to map out the exact character arc because it's going to be following an exact timeline. But you can still use this for any of the others. Okay, now we move on to the plot arc, which this one, honestly, like, I did it in 6 books, but this is very similar to what I would probably be doing in the Coastlander series. So I'm going to mark off my books. And then I'm going to fill it out real fast and then show you. Okay, so you guys can see here. And again, this is just taken off of my personal favorite plotting names. But book 1 is the call to adventure, or the first doorway of no return. By the end of book 1, we know that Mark cannot go back. He has been called to this adventure and he can't go back. Book 2 tests and challenges him, and we get his reaction. So he's beginning to grow as a character, and the plot is beginning to move forward. Book 3 is going to be that midpoint crisis, plus the second doorway of no return. Book 4 is going to be that black moment, plus the Q factor, or like that final question of, you know, are we going to do this? And then book 5 is going to be the storm the castle, or the resolution, and the resolution. So they go in, they take down, you know, the bad guys, and then everything kind of gets wrapped up and resolved, and how all that goes down. Okay, well, there you have it. We have completed 2 separate series workbooks, one for a standalone series, one for a saga series. And honestly, I had so much fun doing that. I haven't gotten to just sit down and work on something like that in a really long time. So I hope that you guys enjoyed it and maybe got to do some of it with me. Maybe you pulled out your workbooks and got to do some. Again, if you haven't grabbed your copy of that workbook, it's a free download. So, like, you know, there's nothing you have to do to get it. You just go there and you click on it and you download it. It's on my website. I'll put the link in the description box below. But basically, that is it's really just the core things you have to know for planning a series. And as we all know, and I've said this in so many videos, I only write in series, so I'm going to be probably using this workbook now for like every series that I have planned. So the fairy tales I just did and the Coastlander series I just did, I'm probably like, I've got 2 other fantasy series that I already know I'm going to be writing like right after Coastlander, so I may work on those over this spring/summer. I don't know. We'll see. I have so many books I want to write, and I know that's the same, probably the same for you too. There's so many books to write in so little time. Anyway, well, a real quick update. I am almost ready to start drafting Snow Dust, so hopefully the next vlog that you see will be me actually drafting the book. But we'll have to see. I'm not sure what that first week of February is going to look like anymore because plans are up in the air again. So, you know, life with the Holdens is the usual. So, anyways, that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you got a lot out of it. If you liked this, then please do give a thumbs up. And don't forget to hit the subscribe on the way out. My focus on this channel right now is really working on writing series and writing fantasy books and writing them to the best of our ability, with also some emphasis on self-publishing, because I am a self-published author and I will continue to be for the foreseeable future. So I will have some input in that as well as I continue on my self-publishing journey. I hope you have an amazing, amazing rest of the week of writing, and be back here Saturday because I will be posting again and hopefully starting a really fun series of videos, because we're talking about series. So now I'm inspired to do a whole series of videos. We'll see. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.